Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new Nomad Fairytale Europe palette. So I'm sure by now you've seen the absolutely beautiful packaging of this. There's no two ways about it. Nomad does some of the best packaging on the market right now in terms of creativity. And this palette is no different. The artwork is absolutely stunning. Right down to the detail on the inside, which I won't blind you by showing you the mirror, but it says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" On the inside, Nomad knows how to do a theme. And real quickly, I wanted to touch on the fact that I've seen some back and forth about, is it Disney inspired or is it the original fairy tale inspired? And I think it's both. I definitely think it's both. I don't think anybody could look at this and say that it's not Disney inspired at all. The pan embossings, the color story, the artwork in general, it's definitely taking a page from Disney. But Nomad does destinations, so I think that's why they've included this row along the bottom with all of the castle names or places that inspired these stories, and that both fits Nomad's typical theming as well as stops them from having to do an IP collab. So I definitely think that's twofold, but the little icon with the castle with the flags on top, I mean, if you've ever seen Disney, you know what that is. So it's 100% both, and I think that's totally fine. So now let's get into the color story and the quality. So this is 18 shades, which is quite a large palette, and 12 of them are shimmers. We only have 6 mattes, so I personally like the way they went with these mattes, having them all be neutrals. I know that that was a choice, and that definitely felt like a letdown to some amount of people, but when I use really colorful shimmers, I prefer them to pop off of a neutral background. So this was the best way to go for me because now I don't have to get a companion palette to do that, which is definitely something that I've done with other Nomad palettes in the past. I love these matte tones. They are a little bit on the powdery side, but they blend really easily and I find them really nice to work with. So I'm happy with that choice. As far as the shimmers go, I'm not gonna lie, there are certain colors here that I could go without. Like I have so many pinks, I feel like, especially that hot pink, feels a little bit redundant in my collection. The gold, the purple, and the blue are all a little bit on the basic side. And the neon coral is fun, but I don't know realistically how often I'm gonna reach for that. But generally, there's enough arrangements here that I could get multiple really pretty looks. As far as the quality of the shimmers go, I'm thrilled with this because yes, some of these are a little bit on the softer side, but they are very impactful. And a number of them have the thinner formula, which is usually only reserved for their duochrome or multichrome shades. When I look at this, I only see one real duochrome, which shifts from white to a pinky coral color. When I first looked at this, I was convinced that Prince Charming, the gold shade, was also a duochrome, but I really don't think it is. I've looked at it in several different lighting situations now, and I don't really see that happening, but it's still a stunning shade, as is Sleeping Beauty, and even First Kiss is a little bit on the thinner side. The reason I prefer their thinner formula is because I think it's more impactful, and I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe the shimmer is more finely milled or something, but I just personally, I do think that it has more impact while also having longevity that I feel like can be a little bit hit or miss with thicker shimmer formula. Creasing isn't a huge problem that I've had with Nomad cosmetics, especially if I use a glitter glue, but it can look a little worse for the wear by the end of the day, and that really doesn't happen with the thinner shimmer formula. So now I'll jump into a variety of swatches under different types of lighting to sort of give you a better idea of how these look in real life. Now I'll talk quickly about the look I have today, and I do feel like it's really pretty. I was originally going to go with an all pink look, but this purple Sleeping Beauty shade is so pretty. I just couldn't help myself, so I kind of started going in the first kiss direction, but then I topped everything off with Sleeping Beauty, and I did Snow White in the inner corner, which is perfect. I love that for an inner corner shade. As someone who always likes a gradient, because I like to contour my eyes every day, like every single time I do eye makeup, I do that, and this provides that. We have light, medium, and deep shades in both the shimmers and the mattes, so I'm thrilled about that. I'm thrilled that I don't have to reach for any other palettes when I'm using this. And as is typical of Nomad, this is going to get me to think outside the box. I can get into a rut with creativity, and pretty much every time I've bought a Nomad palette, I am forced to either use colors that are outside of my typical comfort zone or to just pair things together that I normally wouldn't, just because I'm challenging myself to stay within one single palette, at least when I first get these in my hands. So even though, unfortunately, I've only really used this 4 times, life has been intense lately, so I haven't had the kind of time that I really want to fully digest a palette. I don't have as many looks to show you as I would typically want, but having a lot of shadows from Nomad, I do feel confident in my review at this point. I think I have 3 solid looks, and then I had sort of just a play session that I did using all of the deeper colors, the ones that I don't have looks for yet. Before a shower, when I had no other makeup on, I did in fact play with those shades on the eye, and I can say for sure that there are no surprises here. All of these shades performed beautifully. I did have a little bit of fallout, but I'm an eye makeup first girl, so that never really bothers me, and it certainly wasn't anything terrible. So I am popping in here to include a 4th look with this palette because I saw an inspo photo on Instagram this morning and it absolutely floored me. I thought it was so beautiful. I was so in love with this look that I found the creator that posted it, and this is her name right there, so you can definitely go follow her if you like it as much as I do. I mean, she's a real makeup artist and she has beautifully shaped eyes and is probably so much younger than me. I don't really want to compare it too long. This is like what a normal person can do when they're inspired by that. But regardless, I just thought it was so beautiful. And I know earlier in this review, I said that some of these colors were a little bit more on the basic side. But the truth is, sometimes I don't have a lot of those colors. I'll have a lot of palettes that don't want to do a straight yellow because it feels too basic. So it winds up actually having no basics, except for like mattes, because I do feel like I have my primary color mattes covered. I don't really have the same thing in a shimmer formula, not a good one anyway. So I actually think that this palette is quite useful for that reason, and I can't stop looking at this eye look because it is just so stinking pretty. It reminds me a little bit of the Adept Rainbow palette, except that palette is so difficult to use because the little strips of color are so tiny. This one was so much easier to work with. I feel like these colors complement each other. They're all in the same like value family. So it makes the gradient just look really organic and it's stunning. So I'm definitely going to have to play around with some more colors like this, and I will absolutely post all of those looks over on Instagram in case you're interested. Well, here is the vertical view so you can see the eye look a little bit better. It is so pretty. So yeah, that's about it. I am looking forward to playing with this more, and that is always a good sign because unfortunately I got another palette like a day before this one. I think I finally got the Odin's Eye Morgan Turner palette like 1 or 2 days before this came in the mail. I played with that palette once, and since then I've only wanted to play with this. So that is just a raw look into what I am genuinely happier about. That review is coming. I'm planning on doing that next week, and I certainly don't hate that palette by any means, but I definitely like this one more, which is why I'm doing this one first. So if you were on the fence, because I know in the past the Nomad quality has not always been the most consistent, I can sit here and tell you for sure you don't have to worry about any quality issues with this. I think it's a beautiful spring color story and a beautifully executed theme. I am a child of the 80s and 90s, like Beauty and the Beast, the whole nine. So I absolutely, the second I saw the packaging, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna need this one. So I'm happy to say that it definitely did not disappoint. And I hope if you decide to pick this one up that you love it as well. And that's it from me today. I hope that you're having a beautiful day or night wherever you are. I hope you're taking care of yourself. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.